This guy was like kind of a quintessential like 4chan shitlord, like hipster kind of guy.
Say no more. I know
You
exactly.
used to
He
host Smash.
probably unironically thought
He wore a top.
fedoras were.
Not no, he wore a top hat and a trench coat and had his katana that he would walk around in. He wore steampunk glasses. He would host Smash parties just so he could demolish everyone at Smash Brothers
I
Melee. Yeah,
fights.
he was an insufferable prick, complete know-it-all.
Good
But
with the ladies.
he had a hot girlfriend who I ended up boning a few times without his knowledge.
Nice. High
It was kind of
five.
my ultimate revenge. Was I ended up boning his girlfriend. Good morning, Heroes in a Half Shell. Welcome back to the Laser Comb Podcast, the weekly show where we comb through random episodes of classic TV shows with a fine-tooth laser. I'm one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
And I'm NeoCal.
This week on the Lasercomb podcast, we are reviewing the 22nd episode overall of the classic 1980s/1990s cartoon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. As usual, I put up a Twitter poll with a bunch of options and let my Twitter followers decide. And what was voted upon was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, and as always, we put the show through the random number generator and came up with episode 22. It's actually the second time the 22nd episode of a show has come up on this podcast. Because when we did the tick a couple of weeks ago, that was
Yeah.
also episode 22.
Random indeed.
Yes. Very random. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ran from 1987 to 1996, which
Wow.
was it's kind of bewildering to me because like I remember watching this show a lot as a little kid, like around like 1989, 1990, 1991, but I think I'd already like I think I forgot about it from like 92 onward. I didn't really watch it anymore.
I was aware that it was on, and much to my partner is a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. Um, but she stayed with it. Like she fucking loves it. um,
Oh
no,
wow.
she probably hasn't seen every episode. But yeah, I didn't realize it was in my head. I thought it was just like, late 80s, early 90s. I didn't realize it
Yeah.
was all throughout the 90s. It makes sense. There were different iterations after that, but I guess I don't know what was going on. I was watching mainframe entertainment stuff and
Riding bikes.
riding bikes, throwing pine cones at kids. Yeah, you know how it be.
Dishing out some trailer park justice,
Yeah, as one does.
as one does. um,
That's a lot of TMNT.
for me, with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I kind of have an odd relationship with this show because, on one hand, like I was super, super, super into TMNT when I was a little kid. Like I said,
Yeah,
around 89, 90, 91, 92. So from when I was like 4 until I was about 7, like I had all the toys. I was watching the movies over and over again. I even had
everyone
this.
did,
I even had
right?
I had the soundtrack to the first movie on tape.
Okay, so yeah, you were into it.
Yeah, yeah. So I was really fucking into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but for some reason it's not something I'm nostalgic for.
I I feel that like now that I'm thinking back, I did have toys. I even had one where it changes into a transformer. It changes into like a turtle, like a normal turtle,
Oh, I remember those
and then
ones.
it
Yeah, yeah.
transforms
Those ones
out
were
and
cool.
yeah, and it's got the little tail and yeah. I had that,
Mm.
Raphael. My cousin had their van
Yeah.
and there was a
The
pizza launcher
the party wagon. Yeah, I had that when I was a kid.
and it would open up and you could put them inside and it would launch pizzas.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, pizza discs. Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, that's the last I remember of my cousins and siblings and I like partaking in TMNT enjoyment.
Hmm.
I remember there was, when the live action movie came out, like what was that, a decade ago now? People were shitting all over it.
I think 2013, 2014,
Okay, so not
maybe.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So about 7-ish years ago. And I had watched it randomly. I was like homesick, watched it on, I don't know, some streaming service, Netflix or something. And I was like, what's wrong with this? It's not offensively bad.
The it was a flop at the box office, but I actually like the second one a lot more. I think it's called Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows.
Everybody said that that was the shit.
Because that one goes
I
fucking
haven't
full
watched
on
it.
that one goes fucking full on cartoon. It has like they bring in
Oh,
Rocksteady and Bebop,
I need
Krang
to
and
watch
the
it.
Technodrome, and like they go full cartoon with it. Like the first movie was like you could tell was trying to take it kind of seriously. They were kind of trying to go the
And
like
then they just go back to
transform.
basics.
They were kind of trying to go like the Transformers movie route, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Make it serious, make it gritty, make it something adults and kids like. Right, right.
Yeah. But then the second one, they're like, no, you know what? Fuck it. Rocksteady Bebop, General Krang, the fucking Technodrome. Like, let's just go whole hog. I kind of wish that it had they had made another one and just gone like straight up because I only saw it once and admittedly I was kind of drunk when I watched it, but it is definitely a movie
I
for
haven't
that.
seen it, so I'd watch it.
I think God, I think they even tease like Dimension X in that
Really?
one. Yeah, yeah. Dimension X and the
Why haven't I
Neutrino
seen
game.
this? Okay. I'm gonna watch it.
And one of them, I think it's Bebop, is played by the WWE wrestler Sheamus. Only thing I've ever seen him act in. But
Like I know exactly who Seamus is, but
yeah, big, tall, Irish,
usually has a
ginger
beard and
guy. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, good
He
wrestler.
plays Rocksteady.
I think he plays Bebop. I can't remember which one. WWE Sheamus.
The Rhino. Yeah, so that's Rocksteady.
Oh, okay, so it is Rocksteady.
No shit. Huh. Oh, I remember the trailers for this now.
Yeah,
Oh, when the trailers had come out like years ago,
yeah,
I
because I
was
think
like,
that
hey.
because I think that movie came out in like 2015 or 2016. Came out a
Because
while
we
ago now,
we definitely get to see them in their human forms in the trailer.
and they do mutate in the
Yeah,
film. Yeah.
rad.
Uh,
Wait, I remember seeing trailers for it and going like, holy shit, that looks rad. But like it got buried and everything, and then I forgot it existed.
Same. I think I randomly watched it on Netflix one night, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I'm
I need to
like,
do that.
I'm like,
That looks
oh
like the
hey,
better one. I just saw a
it,
screenshot of them in human form looking at each other.
yeah,
Yeah, and Bebop's got the fucking like shades and the mohawk, and I'm like, I'm all for that.
yeah. I believe there's another Ninja Turtles movie, another reboot in in development right now. So for a quick primer on what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is about, it's about some turtles that are mutants. They're also
They're
ninjas,
teenagers.
and they're teenagers. All you
You
need to
know,
know. No, it's no. What Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is about is four turtles who get mutated by some
ooze.
this mystical substance called ooze that turns them into anthropomorphic, talking, athletic turtles. And they're raised by their Master Splinter, who in the cartoon, and I
Yeah,
believe in the original comics, he's a human
he's a human who gets turned into
who
a
gets
rat man.
turned into a rat. Hamato Yoshi was his name in the live action film. Hamato
He's also
Yoshi
a rat.
Hamato Yoshi was Master Splinter was the pet rat of Hamato Yoshi, and he got mutated by the ooze into a big anthropomorphic rat, which uh, kind of makes more sense, honestly. Like in the
Yeah,
context of this story, it makes more sense. Like if you have like little tiny turtles who get mutated by ooze into big walking talking turtles, it makes more sense for a like normal rat to also get mutated into a walking talking rat instead of just for some reason turning a person into a big walking talking rat.
that yeah, like it's
Yeah,
supposed to uplift,
yeah.
right?
So
Like why would it just turn a human into into a rat, right?
a rat of all things, yeah. So I see why they went that route in
But
the
Bebop and Rocksteady were always human
yeah,
and they
even
were
in the
turned into
cartoon.
animals, but wasn't that because of some genetic fuckery they were trying to do, or was it just the ooze?
No, I think it was
I'm out of the loop.
so am I, honestly. I think it was a device that Shredder had
Oh, it
from
was different than just being exposed to the ooze,
yeah, I don't think it was the
because
ooze that
theirs was
mutated them.
purposeful,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I remember in the second Ninja Turtles movie, they had Shredder use the ooze on a wolf and a snapping turtle, and they like mutated into like big like hulking beasts called Toka and Razor.
Oh, right, but those were actually like monster things, not people smart. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they
Um.
think Shredder is their mother.
Oh,
They keep
this is
calling him
vaguely
Mama.
familiar.
I used to love TM the second Ninja Turtles movie when I was a kid, which I mean, it's a lot goofier. It's more kid. It's the more kid friendly out of compared to the first Ninja Turtles movie, which was kind of dark. The second one is a
Yes,
lot more fun and lighthearted, so
the better one.
it's probably why I liked it more when I was like 7.
I brought it up with you, but there's a Netflix series called like the TV shows that made us, or I can't remember what it's quite is, but there's an episode on TMNT,
The toys that made us, yeah,
the toys that made us. Sorry.
yeah.
Um,
I've watched most of those episodes.
and I watched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one, and I didn't realize it was just like two dudes that like created it, and it was
Yeah,
really dark and gritty and violent. And they
yeah.
tried for years to.
Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah, the it was based on a comic book, very like indie comic. Like
Yeah.
I think one of them's dad like owned a printing press or something, and they just used that to print like 500 copies of the first issue and just sold it themselves.
Yeah.
Um, and a little known fact, like the original Ninja Turtles comic book was in black and white. Uh, they and it was originally created as being a parody of Daredevil. The art
Huh.
style, the art style, the lighting
Oh,
was all a parody of Frank Miller's iconic run on
oh
Daredevil from a
yeah.
few years earlier. And
If
like
you go
also
and look at it,
yeah.
it's very reminiscent.
Yeah, and I mean like Daredevil's like main antagonists in Frank Miller's run on the character were the Hand. Who do the turtles fight? They fight the Foot.
Right, right. Oh, I forgot about that. And that became the Foot Clan. And yeah,
Yeah. I listeners, I don't think I've ever actually brought this up before on this or any other show that we've done. I'm a huge Daredevil fan. Huge Daredevil fan.
big old Daredevil fan.
Yeah.
I got a toque somewhere that may have a little Daredevil on it. But I
Yeah.
can't wear that side because that side's yours.
Yeah, it's a reversible toque. I have the same toque actually because it was a loot crate thing like 5 years ago. It's a reversible toque. One side is red with a Daredevil symbol on it. The other side is dark gray with a Punisher symbol on it.
It's so comfy and it's the right size for my head. I have a huge head. And man,
Yeah, same.
I don't I can't other toques, it's just perfect. It's just perfect. But because we both have the same toque, years ago, because there's so many pictures of me with it, we just joked that like I can't wear the Daredevil side out. So
Yeah,
he'll
yeah.
wear the red side, Daredevil side out, and I'll wear the Punisher side out. That way no one has to know.
It ended up being replaced a couple of years ago by a toque that I still have that is still my current favorite toque that I've ever owned. It is a Death Stranding Fragile Express toque that I got at EB Games for $20.
Oh shit, yeah, you love that game.
I love that toque too.
I
And plus, like me wearing a toque that says in big letters "fragile" on it, kind of just felt right, especially at the time.
That's right. Um, it's one of those games. For instance, I owned the game Near Automata about a couple 3 years before I played it, and then I 100%ed it. And then
Yeah.
I played it again. Like I played the hell out of it, like a couple 100 hours. That's what I know I will do with that. And when it's a big undertaking that I want to commit to, but when I know I can't, I keep pushing
Well,
it aside. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm like,
well,
I want like a month to play this game properly, and I
uh,
I wait until there's a lull in my gaming
well,
to
you
dive
waited
in.
long enough because there's now a director's cut version of it out that has like a whole shit ton of more content, and it's actually mastered for PS5. So there you go. Play that version and tell me how
Like,
it
yeah,
is, because
there's a
I don't.
subreddit called Patient Gamers
Yeah.
where people just are fine playing games like years after they come out, wait for them and talk about when they're on sale or when they're for free on some like PlayStation Plus or if they're on Game Pass or whatever.
Game
And
Pass is kind of turning me into that person, honestly.
right,
Like,
you're like, why
like,
did I pay for this? Yeah,
like I was going to, and we're gonna move on from this pretty
yeah,
shortly
yeah.
here, but I remember when Marvel's Avengers came out, like about, what was it, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now? Or no, it
Mhm.
was only a year ago. Yeah, it was during the pandemic. Um, it was like August 2020 or something like that. I played the beta and kind of enjoyed it. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give this game a shot. But then it came out and I was like, you know what? I'm playing other things now. Things on Game Pass now. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, now's my chance. I'll just play. I was gonna, that horror game that was inspired by PT, Visage. It's been on my list to buy for quite a while now. And I'm like, oh, and I read like a month or so ago, I'm like, oh, it's actually on Xbox now. Cool. Oh, it's $40. And then like lo and behold, I get like a notification on my phone like 2 or 3 days ago. Now on Game Pass, Visage. I'm like, all right, why do I need to buy games anymore? Yeah, so Ninja Turtles, big cultural touchstone of a lot of 90s kids' childhoods. And I think this is a good time to started into the episode.
The episode we're watching, it's called the Maltese Falcon. I'm sorry, the Maltese Hamster. Oops, did I just give away the
What
the
it's
reference?
homaging, yes, yeah. So the title of the episode, "The Maltese Hamster," is a riff on the classic Humphrey Bogart film noir, "The Maltese Falcon." Uh, Great film, widely regarded as being one of the best movies ever made. I watched it in university and seen it a few times since. Movie is legit good.
I've seen it once about a decade ago, but it sticks with you. Like its plot is pretty.
Yeah, it's a great example of characters with not necessarily not necessarily insidious motivations, like even the villains, but no one in that story is wholly good either, which is kind of
Yeah,
one of the tenets of film noir. Anyway, so this episode is kind of a riff on that, and indeed, this episode features a MacGuffin called the Maltese Hamster, the titular
I like it.
MacGuffin. Yeah, which if anyone out there is wondering what a MacGuffin is a script writing term that refers to an object that motivates the characters to do something.
Yeah,
It's something characters are. It's something that just drives the plot forward. It doesn't really matter what it is per se.
yeah. The suitcase in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, great example. In fact, that was the example that was given when I was in my first year screenwriting class. My teacher used that as an example.
It's because it's a very obvious modern example of it.
Yeah.
And to your point, you said it doesn't matter what it is or why it's driving the plot forward.
Well, even in the film, The Maltese Falcon, it's never really explained why these characters even want it.
Yeah. I was like, is my memory bad, or is it the same setup and that we don't know why it's important?
Yeah, we
it
never
just
find.
it is.
I haven't seen the movie in about 5 years now, but from what I recall, we never even find out like why, like what's so important about the Maltese Falcon.
Do we find out what's important about the Maltese hamster?
We do actually.
We do.
Yeah.
It was not what I was expecting.
Speaking of things that you may not be expecting, this hype ass intro for the cartoon. Yeah, so episode 22 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles opens with the standard Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles intro sequence. Now, what is important to note about this song, which is catchy as fuck, when I was watching this episode earlier, I was like kind of like low key, like singing along to it in my head.
My partner knew every single word.
Oh yeah. So do I.
Oh, you do too? Okay.
Yeah. I'm not going to.
There's a few parts where I'm like, where I don't quite know what it is. I know the tune.
So the theme song was written by Chuck Lorre. Sitcom producer extraordinaire Chuck Lorre, known for creating shows like 2.5 Men and The Big Bang Theory, amongst a whole slew of others. In fact,
my partner pointed that out.
In fact, the character of Charlie in 2.5 Men, played by Charlie Sheen, is his job in that show is he writes jingles. Yep. And that was kind of a joke because that's what Chuck Lorre used to do. He used to write like jingles and like tunes for things before he got into producing.
Yeah. My partner pointed that out and I'm like, why does that make it worse for you? I'm like, is it just because of Big Bang Theory? She's like, I'm not going to say no, but
yeah, I'm not a fan of The Big Bang Theory personally, but
the creators are fans of money. That's all I know.
Well, who isn't fans of money, right?
Yeah, good point.
So the episode opens with the turtles walking in the rain, and we're getting a film noir-esque, like Gumshoe style voiceover narration. It was a dark and stormy night in the city, that kind of thing.
It's Donatello.
Yeah, it's Donatello. Of all characters doing it, the nerd.
The nerd.
Actually, I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And he changes his voice so that he's like an old gumshoe narrating a film noir. And throughout the episode, he has this narrative going in his head. A few times he says it out loud. Like it's
including
not just
right
in
here.
His head.
Including right here.
He's talking out loud, but none of the characters really acknowledge that he's like the voice.
Well, they do in the opening, in this opening scene here.
In the opening, it's dealt with, and then they just let him do his thing.
Yeah, and like one time later on in the episode, he just switches his voice and like calls April like sweetheart,
and I guess she's so used to Donatello being a nerd, doesn't even bring up why he's using a different voice. I love it.
Yeah,
this is actually a really funny episode. I'm glad we landed on it. This is ridiculous. Oh, I learned some things from my partner about the whole jingle and its connections to Big Bang Theory. But she didn't know that the Maltese Falcon was a thing. So really? I may watch it soon with her. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go back to it. I think there's a Criterion Collection release of it on Blu-ray. Maybe I'll wait until they come out with a 4K remaster of it, because they will eventually.
Yeah, everything's coming 4K, people. I want to see
Yep.
the pores in the black and white actors' faces.
Actually, those old films, because they were shot on film, up-res extremely well.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? That
It's because film is very high resolution. Like traditional, like 35 millimeter
yeah.
or 60 millimeter film is very high resolution.
Oh,
So
that makes sense. So whenever they do restorations or they do 1080p.
yeah, they go back to the original negatives. So it's still they go back to the original negatives, convert that to digital, and so it'll still look really really good. Like obviously
That makes sense.
there'll be like technological limitations like the cameras they were using at the time, but it'll look a lot better than if you like say try and upres a movie from the 80s that was shot on tape.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's tape that are the biggest
Yeah,
problems.
shot on
Yeah.
video, yeah. Being shot on video versus being shot on film, because a lot of movies, especially in the 70s and 80s and 90s, were shooting on video because it was cheaper.
Way cheaper. Yeah. I don't know much about the subject. I just knew that.
I don't either. Like I'm a very like casual. I have a casual interest in this sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I have an in passing interest, even less than casual.
Speaking of filthy casuals, the turtles, the turtles encounter like a big hubbub going on in front of this jewelry store. It's a, it's a jewelry store, right?
Jewelry. Yes. Jewelry. A jewelry store.
Yeah, so they happen across it and they find that this guy, the shop owner, is like complaining. He's being interviewed by April O'Neil, which April O'Neil is a reporter for, I think it's Channel 6 News, and she's a friend and companion of the turtles.
Yeah. Contact liaison.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
frequently goes off on adventures with them. Weirdly enough, she wears a like yellow like denim jumpsuit.
Child me didn't think that was weird. What watching this now, it's one, like you said, it's a jumpsuit. It's one piece and it's like yellow, but like the zipper's always open. So she's got a little, and it hugs her figure and
Little cleavage, yeah.
little cleavage here or there. And I'm like, that was not normal in the 90s or the 80s. This was never a thing. It's I'm fine with the design. I just find it interesting that she's a reporter and I don't know what that outfit is based on. As far as I know, it's not based on any style that actually existed. Not for reporters or anyone into like that sector, like news
No,
sector.
yeah, no one ever dressed like that.
No, we were alive back then. nobody
Yeah.
nobody dressed like that.
So
I dig it though.
so it was a bank. I was mistaken. It was a
Oh,
bank. It was a
right,
bank that
right.
gets robbed. And so
Well, a bunch of things get robbed
but in
at the
this scene
beginning.
in this scene in particular, like so it was a bank and the April's interviewing the I guess the manager of the bank, and
Bank
he's
boss.
um the world needs only one bank boss, Snake. uh so yeah, so he's complaining. Yeah, like April asks him like, "Oh, what did you see anything?" And he's like, "Oh boy, did I ever." And he is like, "Oh, they use lasers and they slice through the bank like it was chocolate cream
Like it was,
pie."
and I was like, what an oddly specific, like, did that guy just have that for lunch? That was very, very specific example.
Yeah.
Usually the example is warm butter, but
Yeah,
no,
usually. But
even easier than that.
not an
Chocolate
issue.
cream pie. So right away, that's one of the first things other than the accent that Donatello has that made me remember like how fun the show is.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't try to make sense. It just it just has fun.
So we get a montage as the bank manager continues explaining what happened. We get a montage of the this like group of like mob guys robbing a whole bunch of stuff using like laser weapons,
Future tech.
future tech, laser weapons. They have like this mobile like cannon type thing. They fire a rocket at one point, and then they take giant like backpack vacuum cleaners and start vacuuming up money and like jewels and all of that.
That's a very cartoonic thing that like
It is.
vacuuming those things is easier than just grabbing them.
Yeah. Also, I was thinking about this the other day too. Do you remember at this time in like children's fiction, like gangsters were really common enemies?
Gangsters were the most common. When the Batman games came back, like Batman's fighting gangsters too. But during this era, gangsters. But it's weird. The gangsters are always depicted. Thank you for bringing this up. I was gonna actually bring it up on my own. They're always depicted as 1920s gangsters,
Yeah.
like 19, like or
30s,
sorry,
30s or
30s,
40s. Yeah.
prohibition era, era like gangsters with like the pinstripe suits and like the trilbies or the
Yeah.
fedoras.
Yeah, I
And
just yeah, go on.
it's just funny that gangsters are always portrayed as as uh as that era of gangster.
Well, and I was thinking about this earlier too. The people who are writing cartoons at this time probably
Oh, they
would have
watched
been,
movies.
well, I was going to say probably would have been old enough to at least kind of remember the mob being a thing.
That's fair. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And
That
like
makes
and
sense.
like I mean if you figure like say in the late 80s if you're I don't know like 45 or something like you're still like when you were a kid like was kind of like the golden like the golden era of like like Chicago town like mafia
Yeah, yeah.
and like there were and
It
like there
all
were
makes sense.
and there were a ton of movies about it at the time and so that's the kind of movies like you said movies they would have been growing up watching and
Not only that, there was kind of a resurgence in the 80s of gangster movies.
there were yeah
Early 90s, late 80s. Casino, why can't I remember anything? Scarface, geez.
Goodfellas.
Goodfellas, thank you. That's one of my
Goodfellas
favorites.
probably the most famous of all of them.
Yeah. And that was the one I was struggling to to think of.
Yeah, Goodfellas and Scarface are probably, and Casino, like those three are probably like the.
I feel like Casino and Goodfellas is like kind of the same movie. I always get them mixed up because I watched them back to back and they have all the same actors and
I was gonna say, well, they're both Martin Scorsese films. They Casino, I think, only came out like like maybe 5 years after Goodfellas, and they have a lot of the same cast members.
yeah.
Funny
It
enough,
feels
though,
like an alternate history to Goodfellas.
like a side story or
Yeah,
something.
like a side story.
Funny enough, I've never actually seen Casino. I've seen Goodfellas many, many times in my life, but I've never seen Casino.
Ooh, I'm I'm a fan, but like I said, they merge together into like one story for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got the Goodfellas robbing banks, sucking jewelry stores, um, robbing. They're stealing the quarters out of payphones. Like they're pinching every penny and stealing everything they can.
Yeah, and when the turtles are walking and talking with April O'Neil, and they come to the conclusion that if these gangsters have all this future weaponry, then they got to be in league with the Shredder. April, like they got to go talk to, so April is like, oh well, you got to go talk to this person. He hangs out at a club called the Meat Hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, which we will get to see it later, and I'll have things to say about that. And then April is like, and so the turtles are like, okay, we're gonna go to the Meat Hook, and April is like, meanwhile, I've got a story to file in 20 minutes. I'm like, okay. And then she immediately like gasp, oh my God, what's that over there?
And
So they all,
the
so
turtle, they had walked away from each other a bit.
yeah, so
Right? And they all turn around and they're like, what is it, April? Is it Shredder?
and she's like, no, it's an adorable little hamster statue.
So they all just go into the antique shop.
They go, yeah,
they all had shit to do.
It's all in the, so it's in the window of this front window of this antique shop, and they all had shit to do. April was like, man, I got 20 minutes to get this story in. And then they're
we got to go investigate these crimes. Fuck it. Let's go antique shopping.
Yeah. It's like, okay, all right.
Well, you got to live your life too. But I just think it's funny that like antique shopping, okay, but she like made up this in my head. She made up this excuse to get away from the turtles because they're cool in small doses. But I imagine if you hang around with these guys like 2-3 hours, they grind on you. Right? Like, oh, blah, 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 pizza this, master shredder that, or sorry, master splinter this, and oh, shredder that. And it's just like, oh man, these guys are teenagers. I forgot. You don't want to hang out with teenagers. Teenagers don't even like hanging out with teenagers.
I certainly didn't.
That's what I mean. But yeah, they're antique.
And I tell myself that's why I had no friends when I was a teenager.
That's
because
right.
I just didn't like anyone.
That's right. God damn it.
So they go into the antique shop.
This place has not been robbed.
No, this place has not been robbed. And April talks to the shop owner, and she's like, oh, how much for that hamster in the window? And he's basically like, for you, lady, a mere 20 shekels. Or a 10 is what he says.
10 shekels.
10 shekels. And then so she buys it, and then Michelangelo, the pizza hound of the group, that they all love pizza, but he's particularly obsessed with it. I'm amazed he's
particularly teenagery.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, and he speaks in that like surfer dude kind of way, like in that, well, Bill and Ted kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa, dude.
Hang 10, man. Michelangelo's my favorite.
Well, and really, it's Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I think was the inspiration for that.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys had shirts when you came in here. Something happened to him, man. I love that movie.
It's fun. Yeah.
Who actually orders pizza while he's in class?
Yeah. Well,
that makes so much sense. Yeah,
it's all coming together.
So what happens? Michelangelo sees an antique like pizza station. It's got like a dough roller, right?
Yeah. And he's like, whoa, how much for this? And he's like, whoa, can I get that kind of deal on this, bro? And the shopkeeper is like, no, for you it's 12.45 shekels. Which I'm like, he doesn't actually say shekels. I can't remember what he says, but it's not dollars.
It's some yeah.
It's some like thing.
I like how this giant like antique like pizza station and dough rolling like thing with like, you know, the clawed foot kind of style. Yeah. It's like $bucks. Less than $15. And I'm like, where is this place?
Yeah, and also the fact that like they're making it out like that's a lot of money. Because like
when you're a kid, you have no idea. That's infinite money.
Michelangelo is actually like I think he's like a nickel short.
He's like a dime or a nickel short or something like that, and nobody's gonna front him. April's right there. You can't give the brother 10 cents.
And the shopkeep just won't buzz.
He's like, nope. And the weirdest thing happens in this, and I can't remember any terms for it, but it's only so that it makes sense in the plot later. She says, hey, can you have this delivered to blah, blah, blah? And he's like, sure. And there's a kid leaning on his bike in the corner. And I'm like, what antique shop has a delivery boy? What?
This one apparently.
I guess this one. So she
I'm
gets it
guessing this is
delivered.
probably. I'm guessing this is probably just his kid
That
or his
grandson or
nephew
something.
or something.
Nephew,
Yeah.
yeah. And who's just hanging out and he pays him a little bit, right? And she gets it delivered to herself, but she's not home.
That'll come up later, and I'll
I
point that out when it does.
Yeah, so she's like, "Can I get it delivered?" Sure thing, and gives it to the kid, and he gets on his bike to deliver it to
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah, which I'm like, lady, like, why don't you just. You're going straight to work right after this. Like, you have your own office. Just carry that shit with you to the office, leave it in your office for the rest of the day, and then
And
just take
take
it
it.
home with you.
Yeah, but who's going to be home to collect it if you're in the office?
Well, maybe it's
I
like a parcel delivery. Like, they just leave it out front, outside your front door.
thought she was in an apartment building. What? She is actually.
She
Whatever.
is. And
Whatever.
it'll come up like I said, it'll come up later.
I know.
And
It's a thing.
I'll definitely point that out.
um.
So
Oh, you
they
mentioned her office. We see it later. Wow. Her office. Holy
well,
cow.
she's a big time reporter
Yeah.
at a big news station.
I didn't realize she was that high up. High up.
Yeah. Um so yeah, they fuck off. Michelangelo is lamenting about how he didn't have enough for that pizza maker. And
Yeah.
then wouldn't you know it, the gangsters show up.
Right. Yeah.
Right afterward, they barge in and are
They shake
like
down the shopkeep.
they shake down the shopkeep. They're like, yeah, we're looking for something. We're looking for the Maltese hamster. We're looking for that hamster statue. Where is it? And the shopkeep is like, my sugar, I just sold it.
Yeah.
Um, and like they don't believe him, but he's like, no, I swears it. I just sold it not 5 minutes ago.
And my partner pointed this out. Like, what reasoning would that guy have to lie to these guys with guns? I especially for a $10 hamster, right? And so
Yeah.
what do? They're like, hey, trash the place.
Well, I like the fact that the lead gangster, whose name I can't remember, he's carrying a guitar case type thing,
Oh, he's like a
a,
violin case.
a violin case, and he says that he has he was like, care to take a look at this Stradivarius I have?
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny that he.
Which is a famous violin maker. There's very
Yeah,
few Stradivarius violins in existence.
yeah, I know. So I just thought it was a neat little nod. Also, there's a power metal band named Stradivarius.
Oh, cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. And yeah, he opens it up, and instead of so gangsters used to
Carry Tommy guns.
carry Tommy guns in cases that would make it look like they're. Have you ever seen the movie Desperado? It's kind of like that. They got guns and stuff in like guitar cases or briefcases or something like that, right?
I'm pretty sure someone does it in Dick Tracy too.
Oh, probably. I
Which
don't know where it originated, but it's like a trope.
Listeners, Dick Tracy movie, Disney, yeah, Disney film from 1990. I rewatched it a couple of years ago. That movie holds up fucking exquisitely.
I guess I have to watch Dick Tracy too.
It's on Disney Plus actually. But I own it on Blu-ray. Yeah, the movie holds up great. Actually dressed as Dick Tracy for Halloween a couple of
Yeah, I
years ago.
remember that. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. One of my favorite
So
costumes I've done.
I don't know where the trope came from, but weapons stored in music instrument cases.
I
Is a
think
thing.
I think they actually did that.
No,
I think
that's what I mean. Yeah, like I was saying, they actually did hide guns and stuff because of search laws in the U.S.
yeah.
Right, like you can pat people down, but you're not allowed to open and look in their backpacks or briefcases or.
Well, you can now, but you didn't used to be able to.
Yeah,
9/11
there were.
9/11 kind of changed everything.
Yeah. And he opens it up, and there's a laser rifle in it. Some sort of wacky future gun.
Yeah. So Michelangelo finds a quarter outside the shop. He finds a quarter on the ground. And he's like, "Oh, gnarly! Now I got enough to afford that pizza maker." And so he runs back alone to the shop.
I'll be right back, guys.
He runs back alone to the shop and goes in the shop, and the lead gangster guy is like, "Hey, ain't you one of them titles? The boss is looking for you," or something along those lines.
Yeah, because his disguise gets compromised because his hat is knocked off.
I like how that's an effective disguise, is them just wearing trench.
That's iconic, right? In the cartoons, in the movies.
In the movies, yeah, they wear a trench coat and fedora.
Fedora, boom, passes human. They even go through a crowd earlier before they talk to April. Nobody notices that they have giant green, like, shoeless feet.
Yep.
Right? It just nobody looks at each other in the city, right? So they get away with it. But as soon as the hat comes off, hey, wait a second.
You were them one of them titles. So so
they start shooting them.
Yeah, so they trash the place and end up restraining Michelangelo
with a TV remote that shoots laser ropes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of looks like a early Star Trek The Next Generation phaser.
You could say it's a phaser, yeah. And it shoots like a ribbon of energy. By the way, they miss all their other shots at him. But this thing has a deadly accuracy. And they shoot it at him, and it wraps him energy bindings around him, and they catch him.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, they take off. The turtles like run back because they hear the commotion. So they run back to see what's going on. They talk to the shopkeep. The shopkeep fills them in on what's going on. They find Michelangelo's hat, and the name of the mob guy is the Butcher, which is he's the guy that April said that was
they could find at the
at the Meat Hook Club. So that's what they were originally going to do. So it's very convenient that he kind of came to them. If you think about it.
Yeah.
Saves us a trip.
It does. And apparently he's like a notorious like mob boss. Very scary. He seems like a very reasonable person in this episode, however.
Yeah, I mean, other than all the bank robbery and kidnapping, like he seems
that's
like
harmless theft.
He seems like an all right guy, you know.
Yeah.
The kind of guy you want to bring home, meet the family.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a wicked pasta sauce. That's stereotyping.
Who cares? So the turtles go back to Master Splinter and ask him, like they fill him in on what's going on, and Splinter is like, basically, we got to go save him.
Yeah. And he goes with them.
Yeah, he goes with them.
And I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, they oh right. Yeah, we missed a bit that I actually wanted to bring up. Leonardo, so Michelangelo
was taken.
Michelangelo gets taken. I'm just trying to remember in my head which one's which.
Purple Donatello, Leo's blue. Yeah.
So Donatello and Leo stay in the shop, and Raphael goes outside to look around. And as he's walking down the street, the limo that has the Butcher and his men and Michelangelo in it comes across them, and they start shooting at him. So Raphael runs away and ends up, and he quite comically is like, he's like, "Hey, what do you?" Because the car pulls up next to him. He's like, "Hey, what are you looking at? Haven't you ever seen a turtle in a raincoat before?"
So that's a Raphael-ish line.
Yeah,
And then a
Eh,
comical amount of guns.
yeah. The window rolls down, and like a dozen guns just all point out at
Just
him.
like a clown car emptying out with like the ends of these like laser guns. I liked that. They have fun with this show.
So Raphael like runs away and hides behind a bizarre like stack of crates.
It's in the middle of the street.
That
I
yeah,
I
that's in the middle of the street for some reason. So he hides behind it, but it doesn't really do any good because they fire their tractor beam that for some reason goes right through the crates.
right between like a little crack of in between them, I guess. Like this guy's a sniper. He never misses with this thing. I, I don't know how, but like you said, it goes right between or through the
No,
crates.
it straight up goes right through the crates.
I it's that is not explained. And it
Uh,
grabs him,
yeah, so I'm like, okay,
pulls him in. It's a
so this
tractor
thing
beam.
is like a tractor beam that grabs matter, but it
And they have it set to turtle.
yeah, they have it set to turn. Oh God.
Set your phasers to turtle.
That also just setting a thing to something is something that will definitely come up again later on in this
Oh my
episode.
god. Right. Yeah, yeah. That's a great gag. So yeah, they grab Raphael.
Yeah, and they've they the butcher and his men drive off with Raphael and Michelangelo, and as I mentioned, uh uh Leonardo and Donatello go get help from Master Splinter, and they kind of just happen across them.
Yeah, so now it's Splinter with them, Leonardo, Donatello, and they just happen across them again.
Yeah, which it's
Yeah.
like, are these mafioso just kind of patrolling the streets at all
Well,
times?
yeah, they're looking for the Toidles.
Uh, so the one of the butcher's men ends up like using the tractor beam phaser on Splinter, and it starts to grab him, and then Leonardo
I
does the
love this.
stupidest fucking thing.
I
He
fucking love this.
he runs over to the tractor beam and like takes his sword and tries to slash into it like this like tractor beam, which ends up just grabbing him and pulling him along too.
Yeah, he hits it with the sword. It does nothing, and because he was running, he just now
Gets
grabs
pulled into it.
both of
Yeah.
them, Splinter and Leo. And I'm like, I rewinded it to watch it again, and I'm like, what are you
What
doing, man?
what was your plan here?
So Splinter and Leo are getting sucked in, and Splinter turns to Donatello and says, "Oh, you must run, Donatello." And he's like, "No, I'm brave and stuff." And he's all like, I can't remember what advice Splinter gives him, but it's something like, like the day is only one if like you have to run away sometimes in order
Yeah.
to win the day or something. Some
Run.
wise Splinter
Run,
thing.
Donatello. That's an order. So
And he orders
Donatello
him too. Yeah.
so Donatello runs away, and then the butcher like grabs out his laser rifle. He's shooting at Donatello, doesn't hit him, but then he shoots. Apparently, when he's shooting at a building, he's a crack fucking shot because he decides to just shoot at a building that Donatello is running along and causes it to
And the
like
whole
crumble.
thing crumbles. Was that
Crumbles.
the rocket, or was it still just the laser gun?
It was just the laser gun, and it crumbles and buries Donatello under rock.
And his arm is like sticking out dramatically
Yeah,
before commercial break.
before an obvious commercial break. Yeah,
They break the fourth wall and point out
for another commercial break. Yeah,
yeah,
later
yeah.
on.
I'll
Yeah,
wait for yeah.
yeah. I enjoyed that gag. So we're back at or we're at April O'Neil's office at the Channel 6 News. Um,
Fancy ass office.
yeah, and she is in her office, and her boss and like another dude who works at the station are telling her that she has to like crack the case. Like she's the only one who can report on this.
And they're kind of begging her. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the contacts, you've got everything you need, and then the other one is like, and plus everyone else is just too darn scared. Which I kind of like the implication that April is like literally the only person in this news station who is brave enough to like report on the mob.
Yeah. I I really enjoyed that. She's badass. And like
Yeah,
even like the men are that she's working with are acknowledging that. I I dig that.
yeah.
There's a shot in this scene where she's sitting on her desk and the camera angle is like from behind her. They really gave her an ass.
Oh,
Yeah, she's like sitting and leaning on her desk. And it's a kids show, but they they really gave her
well,
they,
in my cut of the episode, she is sitting in a chair.
maybe it's
Maybe you have the director's cut.
later. Maybe I have the director's cut. Maybe it's when what I'm thinking of is like when she's leaning on something when they're at her apartment later. That might be what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah. So outside of her office, I can't remember what this character's name is, but it's like her receptionist.
One thing I remember as a kid, as soon as I saw her, I was like, I liked her.
Yeah.
Kid me thought she was hot. I don't know why, because you know she's got the big glasses and the like the baggy clothes or whatever. But I guess I had a type even back then.
So she's on the phone, like speaking of which, she's on the phone like trying to ask someone out on a date, and she's like, "Oh, well, maybe how about tomorrow? Next week?
Oh, right.
Next month? Next year?"
Ooh, so she's being
She's being shot down.
right.
Donatello wanders in all wounded, and she's like, "Oh, which one are you?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm Donatello. I'm so injured."
Which one are you? Yeah.
Hey, which one are you? I like that she can't tell them apart
Yeah, I
because
think
I
it's
barely can.
uh, well, originally they were all the same because it
Yeah.
was black and white. Yeah. It was only when they
Oh,
signed the deal.
even when the comics went to color, like
They were all red.
they still had the same colored band.
They
It
were
was
all red
actually
headbands.
it was a thing for the cartoon that they did
When they did the deal, they wanted a way to tell them apart, to give
differentiate.
them
So
personalities, and yeah,
yeah, so kids could differentiate between them. Lo and
yeah.
behold, I'm 36 and still having trouble with it.
um, I don't remember because of their colors. I remember because I associate their personality with their colors and then the names. I go through weird mental hoops to remember things.
For me, when I was a kid, it was their weapons mostly.
Iconic, right? They have a
Leah,
color, a personality, and a weapon type. Yeah.
yeah,
Irma. That's the
Irma.
secretary's name.
I always remembered Leonardo had swords, Michelangelo had nunchucks, Donatello had a bow staff, and Raphael had sai.
You know who else has nunchucks?
Oh, um, I'm guessing you're gonna say you. uh, I always knew it. I knew a kid when actually when I was
that was me.
yeah. Well, when I was a kid, actually around the time I would have been watching this, there was a kid. I think his name was Mikey.
Mikey.
No, I shit you not. His name was Mikey. And he had a set of nunchucks. He was a few years older than I was. I was like 4 or 5 at the time, and I think he was like 9 or 10. But he was kind of a shit. If I recall correctly, he got them taken away because he beat another kid up with them.
Were they like wood?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weapon, my dude.
Yeah.
He is a little shit.
He was a little shit, yeah.
Nose. All kids with nunchucks were little shits. So I don't break my nose. These are actually a foam.
Oh, that's yeah.
but they're weighted and like, man, they still hurt. Foam ones are the way to go, the way to practice. I wouldn't even use realistic ones because I would like shatter my like actual wood ones or fuck metal ones or ones with like lead weights on the inside. Like they could really mess people up. But yeah, chain tethered weapons are illegal in the country we reside in. And it's not like you can't own them, but like you absolutely can't, even though these are foam, anything with a tether,
Yeah.
a flail, nunchucks, whatever, big no.
Yeah, so don't go walking down the street carrying them, is what you're saying.
No. Oddly enough, you can walk down the street with an axe, with a samurai sword, but it needs to be visible. It can't be concealed.
I knew a guy when I was younger who used to walk around with a katana around his waist all the time.
I knew you were gonna say katana.
And yeah, he was that kind of fucking guy.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand that dude.
You do nunchuck kids and katana guys. So what's going on here? We can't tell the difference between the turtles, right? Ain't you? Which one are you? I'm Donatello.
So Donatello fills April in on what's going on, and then we cut away to the butcher.
That might have been the moment when he was filling in her. She was leaning on a desk.
Oh yeah, she was like sitting back on it.
There's a camera angle from behind, and I'm just saying, April's got a dump truck.
Oh yeah, she's got a Pixar mom booty.
She's got a Pixar mom booty.
Yeah, so we cut away to the butcher in an office, and he's talking on a like big ass computer monitor to the shredder.
Yeah.
So we're filled in that we're filled in on the fact that the shredder, through some expository dialogue, that the shredder armed this mob group with futuristic weapons from Dimension X or wherever, all these laser weapons and all of that, so he could take over the city and like run all the racketeering rings. But in exchange, he has to find them the Maltese Hamster. And I'm like,
that is you just helped them make millions of dollars because presumably they robbed all the banks.
Yep. But I'm like,
that's not a good trade-off.
No, and I'm like, Shredder, like you have Rocksteady and Bebop, you have the Foot Clan, just go fucking find the thing yourself. Like why do you? This is a very convoluted plan.
And not only that, now they have the same weapons you have. So you're smack talking them, but there's more of them than you, and like, right? Like it's a mob. And you just gave them the same weapons you have. So like, what leverage do you have over them now? And I was expecting, maybe it's just because of my expectation of tropes, I was expecting them to be like, actually, we's calls the shots now.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was expecting things to go. But it seems like that. Yeah, it seems like the butcher isn't interested in that, though. He just wants to be in charge of the mob and make money. Like he doesn't care about Shredder's goals.
Nope. And so he's like, yeah, okay, we're gonna get it for you.
Yeah, and
we searched every antique place in the city. Yeah.
Yeah, you can probably guess what I'm laughing about.
Yeah, I knew.
We searched every antique place in the city, and Shredder is like, one of the devices I generously gave you is a superconducting magnet. Just set it to antiques. Every antique shop within a 50-mile radius, and we'll pull the antique straight to your headquarters.
Yeah.
And he gives them a deadline of midnight to get it.
Meet me at the docks at midnight or else.
So the butcher goes over to this superconductive magnet and has a dial on it.
Let's dissect this for a moment. Yeah.
Because it's a wild assortment of things. So we got toys, home furnishing, men's underwear, and antiques.
And antiques. Those are just the ones that we see.
Yeah. So this superconducting magnet, let's
using quotes. Yeah, it's a magnet.
This isn't science class, so we're not going to explain to you exactly how magnets work, but like generally they only work on things made of metal.
This is from Dimension X, man.
Oh, well, there you go. So let's break this down. So we got toys. I mean, obviously.
Yeah. When you want to be a menace to children.
Home furnishings. When you want to be a menace to parents.
Yeah, so menace to kids, menace to parents.
Menace to mom.
Oh, mom.
Home furnishing. Menace to mom. Men's underwear. Menace to dad. And antiques. Menace to grandpa. Grandpa and
there
grandma.
You go. So you can ruin everyone in the whole family's day. My partner was like, isn't it kind of telling that Shredder has a setting for men's underwear? And I'm like, wait. No, you're looking. No comment. Just saying, have you seen Shredder with a girlfriend?
I like our our little hypothesis that we came up with for that.
Which hypothesis?
Just like the men's underwear is just to terrorize dad. Home furnishings,
it's just to
terrorize mom, and
it's just to terrorize the whole family.
Yeah, to terrorize the whole family. Yeah, one by one. Yeah.
You can't make them all suffer. It can't just grab all of those things at once.
Yeah.
Right. You need to slowly roll out the torment.
So they butcher turns the device on, and lo and behold, it starts pulling antiques like out of store windows.
But like levitating them and making them go down the street
very slowly. That's not how physics work.
Hey man, maybe it's how these physics works.
And then so we Donatello and April are walking and talking while this is going on. And then we have like probably my favorite scene in the whole episode. Where they happen across the cop.
Undercover like Gumshoe.
Yeah.
He's wearing a trench coat and a fedora just like Donatello.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna go over this line for line because I love the shit this guy says.
This is good writing.
He's like, hey, just where do you think you're going? And Donatello is like, just out for a stroll, coppa. I'm like, all right. Good power move right there.
Yeah.
He's like, go home, you two. Finding the butcher is a job for us pros. And Donatello's like, all you flatfoots can do is find a donut shop. Now listen, Gumshoe, don't go sticking your green nose in police business. And then he looks away and he's like, green nose. And then completely changes his tune. He's like, hey, nice outfit. And April asks if they can go, and he's like, all right. But let me give you a piece of advice. Stay off of my beat. And I'm like, this guy is clearly a detective, not a beat cop. Like, based on how he's dressed.
So it's funny that
beat cops don't dress like that.
Well, no, they're usually on foot citizens that patrol a certain neighborhood.
They're not citizens, no, but like
beat cops. I don't know why I said citizens.
Beat cops are always in unis. They're in unis. Yeah. So they're the
stereotypical guys that blow a whistle and chase criminals down the street.
Yeah.
But he's presumably a detective.
Or they're Sean Connery with a billy club.
Yeah. The Billy Club whistle.
You ever see The Untouchables?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fucking really good movie. Very historically inaccurate, but highly entertaining.
So yeah, this is a detective, but he's also a
A
beat
beat cop.
cop.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, leave finding the butcher to us detectives. And I'm like, dude, the, it seems very common knowledge that he owns a club called the Meat Hook. How are you still looking for him? Also, April knew that and told
Yeah.
them. So how does this, she's a reporter. How does this detective not know where the butcher is? Whatever.
She's got the inside scoop.
She's got the inside scoop. Contacts.
Yep.
She's got contacts.
And she never reveals her sources.
Never.
So the cop is like, let me give you a piece of advice. He's like, don't talk to strangers. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. And he's like, and don't eat candy without a wrapper.
And he's like yelling this advice at them as they're like running down the
Yeah.
street.
And look both ways before crossing the street.
I mean, all sound advice.
All sound advice and the kind of things that like
You tell
kid
the children.
that you tell the kids, yeah.
I like that because it is a kids show. So kids have heard that like 100 times, right? Don't talk to strangers. Don't eat candy without a wrapper. Yeah.
So we finally made it to the Meat Hook. The place was a zoo. Well, more like a butcher shop. Anyway, it was
This looks
crowded.
like a hip happening place. Anyway, it was crowded. So there's lots of punks, you know, like
There's a classic like grand piano.
this meat hanging from,
There's literally meat hanging from the ceiling.
yeah, like in a butcher freezer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they just walk into like the VIP like area. There's no bouncers, anything. They just walk into where the gangsters are hiding.
Yeah, they go right into the VIP area without any protest. And back in the office, which is where they're heading in the VIP area, the butcher's dude is like rummaging through like a trash heap of antiques, and he's like, "No, boss, it's not here. I'm telling you." So the butcher goes over and calls Shredder up again, and I was mistaken earlier. This is where Shredder is like, "Oh, you have until I don't care what you have
Right.
to do. You have until midnight. I'll be at the docks."
Yeah. And they
Uh,
overhear this because they're hiding, they're sneaking.
I do like that the butcher actually kind of stands up. He kind of gets sick of Shredder talking down to him, and he kind of
Yeah.
stands up to him. He's like, "Hey, don't go blaming us, Metal Mouth."
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of like the butcher in this episode. It seems like a not entirely unreasonable mob boss.
Yeah. He's used to doing business, you know? And
Yeah, he's a businessman.
whereas Shredder is more of a like brutal dictator.
Tyrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, looky what we got here. So it turns out Donatello and April were eavesdropping on them, and they figure it out. Big fight ensues.
Yeah, they're hiding behind a lot of boxes. A lot of boxes strategically placed around this episode.
Yeah, it's like it's the turtle maneuver.
Yeah, the turtle maneuver, hide behind boxes.
Hide
But as
behind-
we've
hide
seen,
behind boxes.
the phaser
Yeah, that
can go through boxes.
yeah, it didn't work so well for Raphael earlier.
No.
We have listeners. We have another show called Too Much Energon where we talk about Beast Wars and its various related media. And we have a recurring joke on that show that we call the Maximal Maneuver because especially in the first season, a very common thing would be during battles, you would see Maximals just hiding behind rocks.
Yep. Best way to avoid missiles and lasers.
Yeah.
You know? But how's the turtle maneuver working? Well, better than Raphael's.
Yeah, and a battle ensues. They like throw stuff at each other, and they get away.
Yeah, they get away.
And so they go to April's place, and instead of going through the front door because this is her fucking house, This is her apartment. Instead of going through the front door, they climb up the side of the building and go through the window.
And when she asks why, because it's ridiculous, he says, "All right, doll face, they might be scoping the place, see?" Or he says something like that. And I'm like, that's fair, but you're in an alleyway that is really easily visible if somebody was parked across the street.
Yeah, especially since like as they're climbing up, they actually stop to chat.
They stop to chat, and there's a woman, an adult woman wearing a yellow jumpsuit on the back of a Ninja Turtle.
In a trench coat.
That's a lot more conspicuous on the side of a building than if they had just walked through the front door.
Yeah.
Whatever. I dig it. So they go into the window.
They go through the window, they get to inside of her apartment, and wouldn't you know it, just in time that the Maltese Hamster that
the delivery boy
that the delivery boy was set to deliver
but he's
shows
been on
up.
a bike. And they've been walking around on foot and getting up to hijinks. Whatever.
And like, how long has it even been, really? Like, it's had to have at least been a few hours by this point.
Yeah, because they've been to the club, they've been to the office, they've been fighting back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, they went and visited
and they're
Splinter.
On foot.
Yeah, and they're on foot. Yeah.
But this kid on a bike has spent this whole maybe it's a weird plot. It's weird part of the plot. She gave it to him to deliver, and he's just delivering it now.
Yeah. Also, why are they on foot? They have a van.
Yeah, it showed them hoofing it around the city on foot this whole episode.
Yeah. They have a van, just especially when time is kind of the essence here. Like, you want to save your bros. Like,
and usually there isn't a time limit on these kind of things, but they have until midnight.
Yeah, and Donatello is even, if I remember correctly, Donatello is even the one who drives the van most of the time.
Is it Leo or Donat? Whatever, he can drive the van.
Yeah, so why aren't they? Or April works for a news station.
She's got her news van.
Yeah, which we in the live action movie we actually see quite a bit. So like,
she could just grab a cab. Why are the streets so empty? Have you noticed that there's other than the mobsters, there's no traffic?
Well, you see, that would cost money because they would
That's
have to.
A lot more moving parts to animate.
Yeah.
Yeah. A
lot more things to draw.
So Donatello had come to the conclusion, because he was eavesdropping, that this is very, very, very important to Shredder, more so than millions of dollars the Mafia has the mob has stolen from the city.
Yeah, plus not even just cold hard cash, but also all the antiques that they stole with the superconductive and
the $10 antiques that they stole from across town. And the children's toys and men's underwear.
If you steal thousands of $10 antiques, that's just gonna add up.
That's true.
Especially if you
Mikey can get his antique pizza maker now.
Oh, there you go.
Well, as soon as it doesn't show where they're tied up or where they're being kept this whole episode, but they're being kept because
you know what? I didn't even think of that. And the turtles are pretty damn resourceful. You think if they're just tied up somewhere, they could have escaped by now.
But this is a Donnie episode, right? It's his wits that need to get them through that. But yeah, after they're taken and restrained, you never see them until the end of the episode.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that until you pointed it out.
You said, they usually don't lose. They're really crafty and resourceful. They're ninjas, damn it. But in this case, no, they're at the mercy of the mob.
They've got turtle power.
Yeah, they're at the mercy of the mob. And they come up. Doesn't Donatello visit the mob a third time in the same office?
He does, and
put some muscle on the door. These turtles are really easy to see. Right?
I love Donatello's plan here. This is
crazy.
Yeah, he mentions in his voiceover narrative that like he just needs like he has a plan and he just needs like one gizmo to pull it off.
I
And
thought this was pretty great.
so yeah, back at the butcher and his VIP office, they whatever they're doing, they get interrupted by a TV with Donatello on it.
Hijacking the airwaves, seemingly.
Yeah, going all max headroom. And they think Donatello is dead at this point for some reason. So presumably
Oh,
because
because
like
they buried him in the rubble.
yes, they buried him in the rubble, but then after that, because remember him in April a
They
few
saw
minutes
him.
ago. Yeah, they saw him. I didn't think
Oh,
of that until
but
just
maybe
now.
they didn't recognize. No, no, they're pretty recognizable. Yeah, wait a sec. Whatever.
Continuity error. Continuity error. I watched
I
the movie
watched the
good.
movie good. Shut up, Brody. uh, yeah,
uh,
so they're like, hey, wait, ain't you's dead? And they're talking to the TV.
and he tells them he's like, I know what you're looking for, and I have it. And they're like, well, give it to us. And he's like, well, you can have it, but first you got to tell me why the Shredder wants it so much. And
They're
then
talking to the TV, by
they're
the way,
talking
and
to
they
the
don't think that
TV.
it's weird that it's responding.
They're talking to the TV in
And
real time.
this is
This is long.
hilarious.
This is long before the days of FaceTime, folks.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait a second, how is he? Whatever, Donatello's smart. He's like a tech genius, right? And then he's like, you're gonna have to tell me why Shredder wants the Maltese hamster. And the mob boss, who has no reason to do this, goes, okay.
And goes into story time.
This is what I mean. This is when I was
what?
like, the butcher ain't so bad.
And straight up goes into story time, like once upon a time. And he gets this like really derpy voice.
Yeah,
Okay, once there was this evil scientist who lived on the island of Malta. He was the greatest scientist in all of Malta. He was also the only scientist in all of Malta, which
he
made me
kind of
laugh.
sounds like Slash from Reboot.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a once upon a time. But yeah, you were saying there's a scientist on Malta.
Hey, maybe it was him. You know what? I'm gonna look it up
The voice actor.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up on.
Go on, be free, little one.
Yeah, I'm
Voice of the
gonna.
butcher.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna.
basically,
Gonna go to IMDb and look it up right now.
So basically, it has been revealed that the scientist accidentally discovered a really powerful
Source of fuel.
source of fuel and energy. But in its creation, the scientist that created it exploded his workshop and died, right?
Okay.
But before he died, he had written down the formula for this energy source, and he had stored it inside the Maltese hamster. I know it's really, this is needlessly complex.
Yeah.
And Shredder knows about this, and it's enough to power up the Technodrome so that he can take over the world again.
Yeah.
Really weird, like, exposition from this mob boss.
Okay, so the guy who voices Butcher is Peter Renaday, who also voices Splinter, incidentally enough, but he is not the guy from Reboot. He just sounds a lot like him.
He's just using a voice. Yeah. And he tells all of this to Donatello TV, like, for free. That's why I was like, hey, this Butcher guy, he seems like a reasonable man.
Yeah.
And
Donatello is like, he just pulls the TV off of his head.
Gotcha. So he, before all of this started, he had just crept back into their office and put his head into a TV frame.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're like, hey, wait a second. Where was the part where he breaks the fourth wall? Did we
Oh,
pass that?
we did, yeah.
What was the line? I can't quite remember, but it was like
I'm going back because I think it was right before the TV bit.
yeah. Where was it?
And to do that, I needed one simple piece of equipment.
Yeah, sorry folks. There's a funny part here. We're just kind of zipping through. And basically the gist of it is he's like, and then it all came fading to black. Or something like that. And I found out right after this. Right. So he acknowledges the commercial break.
Yeah, he says something along the lines of like, the one I don't know, blah blah, but the one thing I do know is that it's time for a break. And then
Yeah,
the camera,
there we go.
yeah, and then the camera fades to black. It's along those lines.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, cool. I didn't realize it was so. I knew it was tongue in cheek, absolutely, but I appreciate that.
So they go to the docks, and Shredder shows up in one of those like drill things.
It's a drill thing, but it comes out of the water, drills through the bottom of the pier, the dock, I mean, and lands on the top. I'm like,
and
how
then
is this
opens
drill
up
in the water?
and is apparently full of water and fish.
Love that. And they're coughing as if they were about to drown.
Yeah, which I'm like, this. You think this thing would be waterproof? Like it's designed to go through the ground.
It's dirt proof, but not waterproof. And Shredder gets like angry and blames Rocksteady and Bebop, and it was like, it's not my fault. I can't drive, or something like that. And I'm like, Shredder. So I forgot a lot of the themes of this is that he gets Rocksteady and Bebop to do something that he should do, and he always pays for it. Something always bad happens, and he blames them for it. And it's like, Shredder, I know you're a busy guy, but
doesn't that kind of remind you of a villain from a certain mainframe cartoon that we may have another podcast dedicated to?
very intelligent and competent, but still gets complete imbeciles to do the majority of his grunt work.
Yep.
And then blames them when
it doesn't work, when he should have just done it himself. Yeah. Listeners, we're talking about Reboot, the Megabyte, the villain of the 90s show.
Another
Reboot.
mob boss.
Yeah. We have a podcast called Alphanumeric where we basically do what we're doing here, but it's all dedicated to Reboot, and it's all every episode one at a time.
And very much so, he is a scary boss who seems surprised and angry whenever his henchmen always fail.
Yeah.
But still keeps them employed because, well, so what do you want?
So Donatello hands over the Maltese Hamster to Shredder in order to get the turtles back. They do like a prisoner exchange type thing.
Yeah.
And Shredder opens up the Maltese Hamster, and on the inside is the formula for this power source, and he's like, "My formula! The Technodrome will roll again."
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, like April O'Neil is up on a rooftop playing
on a shack somewhere near the on the pier,
playing fucking Sniper Wolf up there with a laser pistol. And just like yeah, apparently she's a crack shot with a laser gun. And she shoots the Maltese Hamster and melts it.
Yeah, just fucking melts.
And Shredder's like, "My formula."
No.
And
Wait
then
a
he,
second. That was from a laser gun.
the turtles have no such weaponry. You must have done it, Butcher.
And I'm like, how did you not see where that came from? She's like 15 feet over there. But here's the funny part, too, that we glossed over. Part of Donatello's agreement to give them the mobsters, the Maltese Falcon, Maltese Hamster, was that they weren't allowed to, he didn't want to see them with any weapons. So they hid them in the car. So Shredder's right there looking at the mobsters, and they're not holding any weapons. And he's like, laser weaponry? The turtles have no such weapons. It must have been you. And the mobsters are like,
Bro,
by the way, there's only like 4 of them. In the whole episode, there's only four of these guys, and they just look at each other and they're like, bruh, look, we're not holding anything. And he orders, go ahead.
Shredder is like, oh well, you didn't make good on our deal, so you don't get to have those weapons anymore. And then he's like,
He did. He gave it to them.
He's like, Bebop, teleportation ray. And so Bebop gets out this gun that is able to just he shoots it at the limo, and it's able to just teleport the guns from inside the limo back into the drill.
To the Technodrome, actually.
Well, does it teleport to the Technodrome, or does it
teleports them to the Technodrome because they retreat because they don't have any weapons.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Oh yeah, and Shredder even says, I teleported my weapons back to the Technodrome.
But how did he know that their weapons were in the limo? They hit them. Maybe Bebop's glasses are X-ray. Yeah.
Sure.
Nothing makes sense. It's like we had recently reviewed The Tick on the Laser Cone podcast. At a certain point, it's so ridiculous, you don't bother
questioning it anymore.
Questioning any single thing. Anyways, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they're free, right? And they're like, oh, it's the turtles. And Shredder and the gang has to leave because they don't have any weapons. Because they just teleported them back, and they didn't bring any with them in the drill ship.
For some reason.
But I'm like,
it's like you told the mob guys like no weapons, but like why wouldn't you bring weapons? You're the one setting the terms here.
Yeah, and Donatello was the one who set the terms for the mob, not Shredder.
Yeah.
Or maybe they all had to follow that in order to get the Maltese Hamster.
I don't know.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Sure, they didn't bring any because yes, Shredder's an honorable person. He wouldn't just stash some weapons.
He's a samurai. Yeah. And so so Shredder and Rocksteady and Bebop fuck. Yeah, they pimp away.
They drill another hole in the dock to get away, and I find it amusing that there are 2 big holes in the docks.
When realistically, this dock would have just come apart by this point.
I don't even
structurally, yeah. Like
if they could go in through the bottom and land, like why not just not go through? Whatever. Docks are very hardy. They have multiple support structures. But regardless, all of a sudden the turtles are free.
The turtles are free, and they're like, shit, well, we wanted to kick someone's ass, and now Shredder fucked off.
And they turn and
the mob guys are still there.
And the mob guys are like, you got us.
Yeah.
They don't fight them. Their guns are gone.
Yeah.
Not one has a normal gun or like a switchblade. A Chicago typewriter. Nothing. So yeah, they don't get to fight actually like anything in this whole episode.
We made quick work of the Butcher and his mob and left them for the police. They were given a collective sentence of 843 years for robbery, racketeering, and tearing those little tags off of mattresses.
The monsters.
As for Shredder, we knew we'd see him again. He's the bad penny that keeps turning up. The rotten apple that spoils the bunch. The moldy anchovy that ruins the pizza.
Oh, I feel that. Amazing writing for Donatello and his like detective voice, by the way, throughout the whole episode.
Yeah. Um, I actually like anchovies on pizza. Not moldy anchovies, but I actually like anchovies quite a
I
bit.
don't mind them with certain. You need to flavor balance the saltiness, like
Yeah, totally.
anchovies and olives and pepperoni. Too much salt, man.
Have you ever had puttanesca sauce? Because that has anchovies and black olives in it.
It's yeah,
It's very,
it's
very good. It's my favorite type of, well, one of my favorite types of pasta sauce. But yeah, it's very, very salty.
you gotta flavor balance it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it has quite a bit of sugar in it too, to like try and take away some of the saltiness.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, so that's the episode.
And yeah, that's it. It's a Donatello special. He intros
Which
and outros the episode.
which sounds like the name of a pizza, actually.
The Donatello special.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why isn't there a Toidles themed pizza restaurant?
There's
Probably
gotta
because
there's gotta be somewhere.
right. And I understand like intellectual
Licensing.
property and
Yeah.
licensing or whatever, but you can name pizzas after them. Like the name Donatello isn't. Now, if you put a Ninja Turtle picture on the box, no, you're in trouble. But there's nothing stopping you from calling something like the Donatello or the Raphael. Those are names.
Yeah, the Master Splinter. Yeah.
Master Splinter. You know what? What would be on the Donatello special?
What would be on the Donatello special? He strikes me as a guy who probably has mild tastes, so nothing spicy.
But like because he's smart.
Maybe something kind of Mediterranean.
I was kind of feeling that, like feta,
Like feta,
tomatoes,
maybe some spinach, tomatoes.
spinach, tomatoes. Yeah, maybe it's a vegetarian one, like feta instead of just like cheddar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, spinach, tomatoes. Yeah.
I think Michelangelo would have like
Extra cheese.
the Michelangelo special would be like extra cheese, and it would have like it would have like 10 toppings on it. It would just be loaded with stuff.
Yeah. It'd have anchovies, chicken,
Yeah, it would have like
pineapple.
pepperoni, sausage, ham, bacon, pineapple, banana peppers, anchovies,
Extra cheese, anchovies.
like
So it's basically a meat
peppers.
lovers with a lot of fucking colorful. Yeah.
Yeah. What the Leonardo be? I think the Leo would probably be like a
it would be on Alfredo instead of pizza sauce.
I could see that.
Yeah. And it would probably be like, or barbecue sauce, right? Like a barbecue chicken kind of thing. But it would be on a different sauce.
Yeah, like a white sauce, like a Alfredo, or like a garlic sauce.
Yeah, an Alfredo or a garlic sauce. And it would
maybe
probably
have like capicoli on it.
Oh, there we
and
go.
capicoli.
There we go. Yeah. And broccoli.
Yeah.
There we go.
Now the Raphael.
Meat lovers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or would the Raphael like shamelessly be like tomatoes? Sorry, shamelessly be like pineapple and like things that people don't like.
No, actually, I think the Raphael would probably be really spicy because he's kind of got the most attitude out of all of them.
Okay, so it'd be spicy. Yeah, so
Yeah,
banana peppers.
It'd have banana peppers. It would have like some like crazy type of pepper on it. It would have like just spicy. It would probably have like a couple spicy meats on it.
Oh, the spice. Yeah. Okay, I can see that. Yeah, hit you hard. Oh, might be like a curry, like based sauce instead of like tomato sauce.
Mm.
Yeah, now
Or
we're getting there.
if I'm butchering the pronunciation of this, but like arrabbiata sauce.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that too.
But it's a tomato sauce, but it's spicy.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites actually.
Alarabi, Alarabiata. Alarabiata. Oh, okay. Arabiata.
Arrabbiata. There we
There
go.
we go. There we
We
go.
figured it out. So I think yeah, the Raphael would have that kind of sauce on it.
Yeah, and nobody else would like it. Whatever.
All
Something
right.
weird to like balance it though, too. Like pears.
Uh, the Master Splinter would be the curry one.
Oh, that would be the curry one. And that would have like you know how they're like pierogi or pear
Yeah,
like
yeah,
toppings like and goat cheese. Yeah, it would have like healthy things like that on it. Pierogi, pear,
yeah. The um
the
the
shredder.
the shredder. The shredder would be like a trolling pizza and just be like a super like vegan thing.
Pineapple for sure. Shredded pineapple.
Shredded pineapple, shredded ham.
Yeah,
Oh,
shredded
there you go.
ham.
Everything on it is shredded.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But definitely, like you said, if it's a troll pizza, it's it has pineapple on it because that's so divisive.
Or the April O'Neil can be the vegan pizza.
Yeah.
Or the April O'Neil or the Casey Jones. Actually, I like the Casey Jones being the vegan one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No Casey
Anyway,
Jones this episode, but what are you gonna do?
yeah. Anyway, that was
I
that.
dredged up my Casey Jones shirt just for this recording.
I was noticing that. Yeah, yeah. Bravo.
Yeah, I kind of dig it. It's
It's
like
pretty sweet.
$5 at Spencer's or something when they're doing the sale where you like buy one, get one free kind of deal. And I'm like, what? Casey Jones shirt? The people that worked there didn't even know who that was.
That doesn't surprise me.
And I was like, oh, my heart. I've told this story on air on some other podcasts we've done.
I was actually thinking about this earlier. This is a pretty relevant place to talk about it.
My rant about my workplace.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Take it away.
Yeah, I was starting. I had graveyard shift at a hotel, and I was starting at night. And during the exchange, there's a lot of staff that are finishing for the day, staff arriving, right? So there's like 6 people in the office, and right away before like Domino's closes, my coworker that's going to be working with me overnight is like, "Hey man, what pizza you want? Blah blah blah." And I was like, "All right, it's a pizza night." And people just kind of like looked at me because I was making a weird like Michelangelo voice. Or I said, "Far out, pizza night." And people like looked at me and I was like, Cowabunga, you know, TMNT. Again, there's like 5 people in the office. And the guy that recommended it to me, he's like, "Come on, guys, Ninja Turtles." And he's Gen X, so he's very aware of what Ninja Turtles is, and he has a nephew.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he was an adult through the 80s and 90s, very much knows what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is. Now, keep in mind, I'm like 27. I'm only about 5-ish years older than the youngest person in the office there. A lot are closer to my age, but they're all younger. And they look at me and James like we're crazy, my coworker. And I'm like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? And one of them is like, "Oh, there was like a CGI movie like a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, the one that came
The
out in like 2007.
2013-ish." Oh, sorry, that one, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm
I
like,
think it was
"Oh,
just
right,
called
right."
I think it was just called TMNT.
It's just called TMNT. And I'm like, did none of you remember Pizza Hut at all in the 90s? I'm not that much older than you guys. How do you? There's still toys. It's still on TV. Like how? It's like a huge franchise. How do you guys not know what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are?
Yeah, it never really went away.
It's never gone away. And And the person that was like, oh, there was like a movie. I'm like, you're 2 years younger than me. How do you, what, am I in a weird dimension where nobody knows what Teenage Mutant, even if you didn't watch it, how do you not know it exists? And the guy,
Right.
I shit you not, born the same year, born the same month as me, who's like, oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, and they had like a rat, like sensei or whatever. And I'm like, you're acting like this is a distant like memory. Like, you don't pretend you don't know his name is Splinter. And even though I am like geek light, film studies light, like by no means an expert on comics or film or any of that stuff, I was like the nerd of the office. And I'm like, how? Because I know who Master Splinter is. And I'm like, you're 22 and I'm like 27. How do you not know what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is? Guys, come on. And I was flummoxed. I was
Flabbergasted, I say.
flabbergasted even that this group of 5, 6 people, one person knew what the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was, and everyone else either had no idea or had like distant memories or had seen a poster or like a trailer on YouTube or something. And I'm like, for like a movie. And I'm like, I guess people live in different worlds. I thought I was the riding bikes, jumping on trampoline kid that didn't watch a lot of TV and movies, but whatever these people were doing.
Maybe they were traveling. They were those kind of kids.
Rich
that were
kids
just,
that like traveled,
yeah.
went to Disneyland. Yeah. Okay.
Went to Disneyland in Tokyo.
Disneyland Paris. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too cool to watch TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that's my rant of my shock that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is not like world renowned. I think it is. I think it is. And this was just a weird freak incident of like a number, all the people in the entire city I live in one that don't know about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Just
in
happened
one
to
room.
all like converge in on that one location at that moment in time. Yeah.
That a weird freak phenomenon.
Speaking of weird freak phenomenons, that was episode 22 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was fun. It was dumb. It was absolutely bananas. But I
in a
had
good way.
I had a riot watching it. I'm like, this is like hilariously stupid.
This
And
is
it
exactly how I
knows it
remember
is.
it. It's exactly how I remember it. And probably better. Because when you're a kid, you don't know that it's a reference to the Maltese Falcon. You don't get the stereotypes with mobsters and stuff like that, right? You just take it at face value.
Yeah.
So I had fun. Like, it shockingly funny from beginning to end.
Speaking of fun, next week on the LaserComb podcast, that'll be episode 8 of the LaserComb podcast. Cal has chosen "Are You Afraid of the Dark?"
That's right.
It was a show that ran from 1990 to 1996 and ran for a total of 100 episodes. There was actually a movie that came out a few years ago based on it, and a revival series on Amazon Prime that lasted 2 seasons. It actually just was just completed its run recently.
I didn't know that. I had no idea.
Um,
I did know about the movie. People said it was for kids, but it was good.
Oh, actually, the revival series is still going. It's just only 2
Oh.
seasons have aired. Yeah, it's an Amazon Prime series.
I have Prime for another 2 weeks.
Oh, there you go.
I guess I'll check it out. I would have never have known if you didn't tell me.
All right, so we're gonna go to numbergenerator.org, which
Amazing.
if you're watching the video version, you can see it. It's right there on the screen. So one random number is between 1 and 100.
Here we go.
Here we go.
I like that it does this.
Yeah. I'm thinking of adding like the sound effect of like the Price is Right
The
wheel.
Price is Right wheel. That's what I heard when you were going.
Yeah. I've been meaning to do that since the beginning. I've just been kind of lazy. Maybe I'll do that for this episode. All right, time to hit stop. 53.
53.
I think that's the highest number we've landed on so far.
Even ones with way more episodes.
Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
All right. Which one is that? Episode. Scrolling down here on the Wikipedia page, list of episodes. That is the season premiere of season 5, The Tale of the Dead Man's Float. Plot of it is a boy named Zeke and his friend Clarice reopen an abandoned swimming pool, only to discover what lies there might have best been left buried and forgotten. Wow, this has Jay Baruchel in it. This would have been when he was still
Season
a kid.
5 premiere. Oh yeah. Oh damn. There you go.
Yeah. Huh. All right. That's what we'll be talking
Season
about next
5
week.
premiere, folks.
Yeah. On the from the next episode of LazorComb podcast. Keep an eye out for that. If you want to support the show, best way to do that, go to Patreon, patreon.com/LazorComb, LAZORCOMB. We're starting at a mere $5 and up per month. You get hours every week of bonus preamble audio. It's us kind of shooting the shit before we actually get down to recording the shows we do proper. There's also at the $25 tier, there's a like top level $25 tier where you can actually pick an episode. Or you can pick a show for us to review a random episode of on this podcast. So
That's right.
There's a bunch of other tiers like in between. So go and check that out. Patreon.com.
Is there a criteria? Like we don't do shows that are reality TV or game shows.
Yeah, it has to be narrative based, has to be completed. The show has to have completed its run in one way or another.
Nothing on air.
Nothing on air. So yeah, go check that out. Patreon.com/LazorComb. Social media. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I am at LazorComb, LAZORCOMB. I quite frequently put up polls on Twitter to let people decide from vote on one of 4 choices of a show to talk about on a upcoming episode of this podcast.
That's how we got this one.
That's how we got this one. I have fun doing it that way because like it creates like an even more of a level of randomness, like on top of the whole random episode shtick of this show. So I dig it. So yeah, at LazorComb on Twitter. You're also on Twitter as well, yes?
I am on the Twitters. Neo, NEO _Cal, KAL.
And on Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/LazorComb, spelled the same way as I have already spelled it a couple times now. It's kind of the central hub for this and all of the shows that I produce, co-host, and yada yada. Facebook.com/LazorComb. As I mentioned, we will be back next week with the 53rd episode overall of Are You Afraid of the Dark? And until then, I've been one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I'm NeoCal.
And until next week, thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.